Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the College Talk series. On behalf of Inflow Communications, I would like to welcome you all once again and would like to thank you, Maitreyi, for taking out the time to come address all our viewers. So, just to give you a little backdrop to the College Talk series, we basically want to bring students who have got into various universities around the world to share their experiences of how they got into universities and therefore help students understand how to go about the process. So, Maitreyi, please take over from here and hope you enjoy your time with us here.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for being here on a Sunday night. I'll try to make it interesting and worth your time. We'll take questions at the end, but please keep them coming in the chat. I was where you are, so don't hesitate to ask anything. So yeah, uh, let me get right into it. So I'm a first year student at Ashoka University. And Ashoka University was established in 2014. Its first batch passed out in 2017. It's one of the first liberal arts universities in India. The campus is 25 acres big, and it's in Sonipat, which is around 2 hours from, which is around a 2-hour drive from Gurgaon. And the campus, under normal circumstances, would house 2,000 students who study at Ashoka. But for now, we have to make do with Ashoka Zoom. Each batch has approximately 600 students. And as I've said before, Ashoka is one of the first liberal arts universities in India. And although Ashoka is a liberal arts university, which means that it is known for its humanities programs, so some of the popular majors are political science, economics, psychology. But along with humanities subjects, Ashoka is also very popular for its interdisciplinary subjects. For example, an interdisciplinary major is when you can major in two subjects at once. So some popular interdisciplinary majors are history and international relations, economics and finance, and also you can pick and choose your own interdisciplinary majors. So you can do two subjects which have no relation to each other. For example, you could have a major in English and do a minor in mathematics. There's no stopping you, and you can pick and choose whatever you want to study. So the concept of liberal arts involves you to experiment a lot during your first year. So in a lot of colleges, like for example Delhi University, your subjects are pre-decided the moment you start the program, the moment you start your first year. But Ashoka lets you experiment a lot in your first year, and you have to take 9 compulsory foundation courses. So each foundation course is about a separate subject. For example, you have foundation courses in mathematics, psychology, history, economics. And only after taking all these foundation courses does the university expect you to decide upon a major. So that is actually one of the main reasons why I chose Ashoka, because A, they let you take your time and then decide your major, and B, there are no restrictions. You can major in whatever you want and you can minor in whatever you want. Um, so Ashoka is also known for its internationally acclaimed faculty. Some names which are very popular in academic circles include Professor Nayanjot Lahiri, who is known for her extensive research on the Indus Valley civilization, Professor Kranti Saran, who teaches psychology, Professor Jonathan Gill Harris, Professor Johannes Burgers. Both these professors are very well known in literary circles. So yeah, moving on. When can you apply? So as you can see on the screen, Ashoka has 4 rounds of applications, and you have a span of around 10 months from October to May when you can apply to the university in. So each round has certain advantages, but I will get to that a little later. Let me first talk about what your application consists of. So your application consists of 4 things mainly: your essays, your 10th grade mark sheet, your 12th grade predicted scores, and your extracurriculars. So whether you apply in round 1 or round 4, your application will consist of all these things. So I will talk about your essays in detail a little later, but let me talk about extracurriculars and your predicted scores right now. So you may ask, when is the best time to apply to the university? So the thing is, it's totally up to you. If you feel that your extracurriculars are really strong, then it's amazing if you want to apply in round one, because then you will really stand out with your great extracurriculars. But if you feel that academics is your strong point, maybe it's better to apply in round three or even round four. And round four happens after the board marks have been released. So maybe that's when you'll shine out better, because your board marks would already have come out. So round one is typically in November, and you'll know by Jan whether you got in or not. Round two is a little bit before board exams. Round three is after board exams, and round four is after results have come out. So I chose to apply in round three because I wanted to give my interview and write my essays only after board exams got over. But it completely depends on you. So as I've said before, if you're very comfortable with your extracurricular activities, apply in the earlier rounds. But if you feel that you want to work on your extracurricular activities a little more, then maybe it's advisable to apply in one of the later rounds. But as you can see from the table, Ashoka gives you about a month's time to decide whether you want to join the university or not. So that does not change with the rounds you apply in. All rounds have a fair chance that way. They do tell you that there are more seats available in round one and round two, and that by the time it comes to round three and four, some of those seats get filled up. But on paper, they say that equal amount of seats are available for each round. But I choose to believe that most of the seats get filled up in the first two rounds. So try to keep that in mind too. How did I get in? So I first heard about Ashoka University in grade 9, and the concept really stood out to me because I was always inclined towards humanities subjects, and I even changed schools in 11th grade for the freedom and flexibility that humanities provided me. So I already started planning my portfolio and my extracurriculars from ninth grade itself. I know of people who've written books and who've participated in thousands of months, or who are legendary dancers. So it's up to you to choose the extracurriculars which you're amazing at and strengthen those. And for example, some people are just very well read. They may not have anything else, but they're very well read and they've read like a lot of books. So that stands out for them. So it's totally up to you to choose your extracurriculars and build them throughout your high school life. Um, it's the depth that matters, not the breadth. So just choose a couple of activities and be consistent, and be serious about it. Serious is all they're looking for. I started working on my application, certificates, extracurriculars, etc. from October, because that's when applications open and that's when you come to know what essays you'll be required to write. And also, your extracurriculars have to be backed up by your certificate. So it's very important to have proof of your participation, or if you've won anything, it's very important to have proof of that, because they require you to attach those certificates in your application. So it's very important to start collecting them months beforehand. As I said before, applied in round three because I thought I'd be in a better place to give the interviews after the board exams. So I applied in round three, and by then the coronavirus pandemic had kicked in. So there was a lot of uncertainty about how the interview will be conducted, and also a lot of my friends had applied in round one and round two. So I'd heard of horror stories of interviews and how people had come out of interviews crying. So there was a lot of uncertainty around that. But finally, I got shortlisted and I gave my Zoom interview in April 2020. And also, another aspect which I want to share with you is that in round three, which was in April, uh, there were there was a substantial increase in in the number of people who applied, because a lot of students who wanted to go abroad to study had to change their minds because of the pandemic, and a lot of them applied to Ashoka. So the competition significantly increased for round three. So Ashoka, who is usually very strict about deadlines, actually had to extend the decision notification by a week because they had so many applications to consider. So I was supposed to come to know whether I got in on 22nd May, but I actually came to know on 29th May, a week later, whether I got in or not. So that was something which affected a lot of people, whether they got in or not. And as I said, in May, I received a firm offer of admission from the university. Uh, and yeah, I accepted it. So this is very important. How do you apply? So as I've said before, your application consists of your essay, your grades, and your extracurriculars. So the essay usually has three parts to it. I was required to write three essays. The first essay being on an experience that shaped me into the person that I am today. This is the essay that counts because it's the biggest essay. It's supposed to be 450 words. Try not to cross the word limit because they're very serious about that. And also, the experience doesn't have to be life shattering or very life changing. It just has to be honest, and it has to give them, and you have to present yourself to them. So as long as it's honest and you've written it and it's about you should be okay. But this is one place where you cannot use Google search. A lot of my friends, for example, wrote about the time that they got elected as the head boy or the head girl of their school. And a lot of other people wrote about their experience of not getting elected as the head boy or head girl, or when they lost the election. So it's completely up to you to write about whatever you want. The second essay is about an event in your life that changed your views or impacted your beliefs in a particular way. Because in the course of a liberal arts education, you will learn to unlearn certain things that you've learned before. And this essay tells them about an event from your past which led you to think about something, or which triggered your thinking in a different way. So again, this doesn't have to be something very unique or something very amazing. As long as it's had an impact on you, you can totally write about it. For example, the sample essay, which was on the Ashoka website last year, in the sample essay, the person had written that they had taken a bus journey and they'd gone on a solo trip for the first time in their life, and how that one bus journey changed their perspective on life. So it can be something as trivial as that. So it's completely up to you to write about what you want. But again, don't plagiarize. Ashoka takes plagiarism very seriously. So make sure that you've written your essay yourself and you've not taken help from any Google website. The third essay was a letter to my future roommate. Um, and I get a little sad when I talk about this because the coronavirus pandemic happened and I never got to go on campus or meet my future roommate. So my future roommate is my current roommate, who's my sister. But this letter is just supposed to be very casual, and it can be about anything you want. I referenced pop culture in it. So it's completely up to you to write about what you want. Just make sure that all three essays are well written and are powerful and reflect you in them. So if you get selected after the application from the application round, the next step in the admission process is the Ashoka aptitude test. The aptitude test is not compulsory. People who have written SAT or the ACT don't have to write the test. They can submit those scores instead. But if you've written the SAT and ACTs and you're not happy with those scores, you can always choose to write the aptitude test. Or even if you've not written those exams, you can write the Ashoka aptitude test. It's not mandatory, but it's recommended to write this. The aptitude test has two components. The first one is the on-spot essay. So the purpose of the on-spot essay is to make sure that you're the same person who wrote the essays from your application. So if you took someone's help during your application, it will come out now because you will be required to write an on-spot essay which will be graded by them. So make sure that you take little help from people and not a lot of help, because then it will reflect in the aptitude test. The second part of the test is basic MCQ format questions on quantitative reasoning and grammar. And the final step of the application of the admission process is the interview round. I know that there are horror stories of Ashoka interviews and stories where people have had terrible interviews, but trust me, it's not that hard. The focus of the interview is you. It's about your passions, your interests. One of the main questions that they always ask is related to your essays. So make sure that you remember your essays thoroughly and you know what to talk about. Also, don't mention anything that you're not comfortable talking about in your essays because it will come up in the interview. There are two rules to remember during the interview. One, the interviewer is always on your side. They're always looking for reasons to take you into the college, and they're very nice and sweet about it. So don't think that they're out to get you. And the second rule is that the interviewer always knows more about you, about everything. So if you're not comfortable talking about Trump's policies and the US China trade war, don't mention it, because then they will take you up on it and they will want to debate with you about it. But if you don't have the knowledge for it, you won't be able to talk to them about it. So please don't mention anything you don't have a lot of knowledge about during the interview, because it's completely up to you to lead the discussion. So you can, a friend of mine actually spoke about her interest in baking and how she prefers baking muffins than baking cakes. So it can be about anything that you want. Just remember, it's your interests and your passions. And as I've said before, don't throw around random words here and there, because they will pick up on it and they will want to persist and ask you more questions about it, and you may get in trouble for that. And yeah, the interviewers don't know you. So if you want them to know something about you, you should tell them, because the only image they have of you till now is from your application. So this is your one chance of letting them know the real you. So focus on your passions and talk about your interests, and you should be fine. Also, if you've mentioned something in your application related to your extracurriculars, they may ask you more about that. So, for example, one of my friends is a singer. So, during her interview, which was in round one, which happened in person, she was asked to sing during the interview. Randomly, the panelists brought up her love for singing, and they put her on the spot and they told her to sing. Luckily, she's a classically trained singer, so she aced it. But be prepared for these sort of challenges. They love to throw things at you like this. Another question that came up a lot during the round one and round two interviews this year was the CAA and NRC protests, anti-CAA and NRC protests. So remember, again, if they ask you something about current affairs and you don't have enough information about it, tell them that you don't know that. Because if you have half information about it and they catch you, then it won't look good for you, trust me. So if they ask you something about about current affairs and you don't know what they're talking about, just tell them that I'm sorry, but I don't have enough knowledge about this. And it's okay to admit that you don't know stuff. Another common question that they've asked in a lot of the interviews is, do you know the meaning of liberal arts? Do you know what liberal education means? So make sure that you read up a little bit about that, because it is a common question. And a lot of my friends have been asked that, who've come from commerce or science backgrounds, because it's important for them to know whether you fully understand the concept of a liberal education. Another common question is, do you read books? If yes, what kind of books do you read? So here again, if you're not an avid reader, just tell them there's no need to pretend that you read a lot of books, because if you say that, yes, I read a lot of books, they will ask you what genres you read, and they always know a lot about such things, and they'll always keep the discussion going. So again, I'm saying just be honest and truthful, and you should be fine during the interview. Moving on. So my academic creds, as I've said before, I switched schools in 11th grade and I shifted from CBSE to ISC, and I took humanities. So the subjects I had were economics, history, political science, English, and math. I don't know why I took math. I think it was just to torture myself. But as you can see, in 11th grade, I got an average of 89%, and it's completely okay for your grades to dip a little bit. Don't take it to heart. But if your grades don't dip, that's amazing. But even if they do, it's okay. It's completely normal for that to happen. But I just want to say that please take your 12th grade midterms and pre-boards very seriously, because Ashoka requires you to submit your predicted scores, and those scores do have a significant impact on your application. So please take your 12th grade midterms and pre-board seriously. And even if you've scored let's say 50% in your 10th grade exams, as long as you show improvement in 11th and 12th grade, you don't have to top 12th grade or 11th grade or get 90%. But as long as you show that you're consistent and you're trying harder than you did, it's good, because it adds to your resume and it adds to your hardworking skills. Also, if there's a reason why you didn't score particularly well in any of the exams, tell them. Maybe you fell sick during your 12th grade CBSE exams, or during your 10th grade exams, and that's why you didn't score well. Tell them. If there's no reason why you scored so bad or so low, it's okay. Tell them that you slacked off and that you acknowledge it was a mistake on your part. They will look at it as growth, and they will appreciate you for being honest about it. So talk about that. And as much as I'd like to say that academics don't matter a lot while applying to Ashoka, to some extent they do. So try to keep your grades I won't say high, but try to keep them average if possible, because it does add weight to your resume if you have decent grades. What helped beyond grades? So Ashoka requires you to submit 5 extracurricular activities of yours. So what you choose to submit here is of utmost importance, because they let you submit only 5 extracurricular activities. So it's very important for you to choose the ones that you've participated more in, that you're more passionate about, and you're more interested in. For example, like everyone, I had a month phase in 10th grade, and I attended like 2 months thinking that it'll contribute to my portfolio. But then when I was actually sitting and filling out the application, I realized that it really won't help me, because I've only gone for like a handful of months, and I don't have that much experience in it. And also make sure that you talk of activities which can be backed up by certificates and proof. So for example, if you're on the school football team, let's say, but you've gone only for 3 4 competitions and you don't have certificates to prove your participation, or if you didn't win those and you don't have awards, there's you can put those, but it'll be more helpful for your application if you write activities which you have more proof of. So for example, I went for a lot of quizzes throughout high school, but and I did have a couple of certificates to back that up. And even though saying that I'm a quizzer makes me look smarter, I chose to write strength and conditioning because I know that I'm more passionate about fitness and exercise than I am about quizzing, and I would be able to talk about it at length during the interview. So it's completely up to you to choose subjects which you think stand out more to you, and also once which you're very passionate about. So it's completely up to you to choose subjects to take. Another thing that you may have noticed is volunteer work. So I've also gone to a dog shelter and volunteered once, or I've also organized clothes donation drives. But in the because, for example, I've learned Kathak for 7 years, which is more, which looks better than saying, oh, okay, I organize clothes donation drives, which stand out more or are more unique, or you're more comfortable talking about, or show that you've participated in them. So I put public speaking because I've participated in a lot of elocutions and debates, and I went on for nationals for the declamation last year for declamation. I'm interested in photography, and I've gone for a lot of competitions, and I have an Instagram page and I've attended workshops. So here again, having an Instagram page really contributes to my resume, because they can see that I've posted since 2017 on that page. So that shows consistency, and it also shows that you're very serious about it. So try to do that with your passions. You can already start creating your portfolio if you're, let's say, in 11th grade. If you're interested in baking or something like that, you can always start a blog page where you share your recipes, or you can have an Instagram page where you share photos of cakes you've baked. All they're looking for is dedication and to what you're doing to further your interest in something. So they want to see you work more in that field. Like I said, I learned Kathak for 7 years, and I went abroad in 2013 to Bulgaria, and I represented India in sports, and probably putting quizzes part. And as I said, because love for fitness, I put strength and conditioning instead of my volunteer work. So it's completely up to you to choose the activities which you think stand out more to you, and also ones which you're very passionate about. What I think stood out for me. So as I've said before, I'm very academically inclined, so I think my grades really stood out for me. And then my declamation participation, because I went on for the nationals, stood out for me, because not a lot of people have taken part in national competitions. Again, having a photography page really adds to my credibility as a photographer, rather than just saying, oh, I'm a photography enthusiast. I'm actually doing something towards achieving. Um, towards making a name for myself in the photography world. So having a page really adds to that. My essays, I think, were well written, and also I was very comfortable about what I wrote in my essays. And that's my interview. My interview was relatively happier, and it was more peaceful because I was comfortable talking about those things in my interview, and I chose to talk about whoever I want. So just make sure that it's up to you, and just make sure that it's up to you, and just make sure that you're very comfortable, and the interview is supposed to be very casual, so don't stress about it too much. Also, high marks is not a qualifying criteria, it is just one of the criteria. So even if you have low grades, it's completely okay. I'm not saying that you need to have high grades to get into Ashoka. That's completely not the case. In fact, a lot of my peers at Ashoka are not academically inclined, and they got in on the basis of their football talents, or because they're amazing musicians, or because they're amazing dancers. So we have people who have interests in almost everything. As I've said before, there are people in my batch who've written books, or who've um, who there's a guy in my grade who has a page where he reviews movies and films, because uh, cinema is one of his passions. And so he started a blog where he reviews Netflix shows and movies. So that's all the university is looking for. A, you have a passion, and B, you do something with that passion. That's all they're looking for. So, what are the types of admission offers? So, I wanted to talk about this because there are different types of admission offers, and it's very important to know what kind of offer you get. So, the first one is a firm offer of admission. I got a firm offer of admission. This means that the only criteria that you have to fulfill to get admitted to the university is to pass your 12th grade board exams. That's all. A conditional offer of admission is when you will be required to meet certain conditions which have been specified by the Office of Admissions. I haven't come across anyone who's gotten a conditional offer of acceptance, so conditional offer of admission. So I'm sorry, I really don't know what those specific conditions are. The third one is waitlist, where by the end of the admission cycle, you'll come to know whether you got in or not. For example, if you've applied in round two, you will come to know by the end of round two whether you got in or not. Deferral of decision refers to when your application will be reviewed again when you send them your 12th grade board marks. So this deferral of decision basically means that they will look at your board marks and look at your performance, and then they'll tell you whether you got in or not. Denial of admission means that you've been rejected by the university. Annulment of application means you messed up big time. Maybe, so this is why it's very important not to plagiarize your essays and to make sure that you wrote them yourself. Also, don't miss any deadlines, because if you submit your application late, it will not be considered. Don't miss your interview. If you miss your interview, they will not reschedule it. And be on time for the Ashoka aptitude test. So it's very important to submit documents on time and to be punctual about the interviews and the aptitude test. So where else did I apply? So in case you get rejected by Ashoka, you'll be so thankful that you applied to other universities too. So for me, I applied to Christ University, Kriya, and Azim Premji. I got into Christ and Kriya, but I got rejected by Azim Premji because I'm pretty sure I messed up my interview really bad. So as you can see, grades are not everything, and they will not get you everywhere. So my reasons for choosing Ashoka over Christ are mainly two. The first one being my course at Christ was a triple major: EPS, Economics, Pol Science, and Sociology. And the other course that I got in was BA Economics Honors, but I chose Economics, Pol Science, and Sociology um, in Christ. And my reasons for choosing Ashoka over Christ was that at Christ, your major is pre-decided. You don't have any flexibility, and you will have to study those three subjects throughout your 3 years. But at Ashoka, as I've said before, it's a liberal arts education. So you will study each subject during your first year, and then you will be expected to make a choice. So that flexibility was something that I was looking for, because I still haven't decided what I want to major in. even now, after I've joined the university and I've been at the university for like 4 weeks now, I still haven't decided what my major is going to be, and it's completely all right by them. So that's one reason why I chose Ashoka over Christ. The second reason why I chose Ashoka over Christ is purely because Christ is known to be very strict and Ashoka is a more flexible university. Um, Coming to Kriya University, I applied to Kriya because, again, Kriya is another liberal arts university in India. And Kriya, my reasons for choosing Ashoka over Kriya were that Kriya is very newly established. It was established in 2018, and Ashoka was established in 2014. So clearly, 4 years makes a lot of difference in this case. So Ashoka is comparatively better established than Kriya because Kriya is very new at the moment. And also, Kriya is more inclined towards the sciences, whereas Ashoka is more inclined towards the liberal arts. So I felt that pursuing an economics or a political science major at Ashoka is better than pursuing one of those at Kriya, because Kriya is more inclined towards the sciences. Although the one thing that Kriya had that none of the other universities have is that they have Raghuram Rajan on their supervisory board. But that was not enough to make me choose Kriya over Ashoka. Thank you so much. This is the end. Um, we can take questions now.
Okay, so so we have a few questions in the chat. I'm just going to read them out one by one and then you can address them.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you did mention a little about the interview process, but how does one prepare in advance? Is there anything to do?
Prepare for the interview in advance.
Yes.
So you can never prepare for an interview for Ashoka because you don't know where the discussion will lead. So the only preparation that I advise you is go through your application once. Make sure that you know every word of your essays, because they can pick up anything from your essays and ask you about that. For example, in my first essay, the 450 worded essay, I mentioned a PG Wodehouse book, and they asked me specifically about that PG Wodehouse book. So make sure that you mention things in your essay and you remember them, and also your extracurriculars, because they will want to talk to you about them and your experiences. If you're a sports person, they may ask you something about winning and losing in sportsman spirit. So it's completely up to them. But just make sure that you know about your extracurriculars, and you have and you have a general knowledge about extracurriculars. That's all.
So you did discuss a little about what you wrote about in your essays, but could you specify the types of stories you wrote about?
Shiv, I couldn't hear you. Your voice was breaking. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, so you did mention a little about the different essays. So can you specify what you wrote about in those essays?
Yeah, sure. So the first essay was about a experience that changed me or made me a better person. So I wrote about my shift from Delhi to Bangalore. From so in ninth grade we shifted from Delhi to Bangalore. So I spoke about that shift and how changing schools was hard at that age and how that made me a better person, and how I coped with not having any friends during ninth grade, and how that made me a more sensitive person. And belief which you changed, or something which initiated your thinking towards something. I wrote about the coronavirus pandemic because it was very topical at that time. So I wrote about how life came to a standstill because of Corona, and how not having domestic workers really made me think about the dignity of labor. And the third essay was very fun. I said something about Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, and Sherlock, and how I looked forward to a lot of fun nights with my future roommate.
Okay, so the next question
So
is,
that's all.
are you,
Yeah.
yeah, are you allowed to defer your admission to the next round? For example, if you get a firm offer in round one, can you push the acceptance or the response to the next round?
So I'm not really sure about that. As far as I know, you are given just a month to accept the offer or to reject it. But I really don't know if you can defer it to another round. I know that you can't defer it uh, to the next year. So I don't know whether you can defer it to the next round or not. But if you do choose to accept it, later on you have a lot of windows to withdraw your admission from the university, and there are ways to get 100% of your acceptance feedback if you um, tell them about it way in advance.
Next question is regarding what you intend to do post an undergraduate degree. So, what are your plans post
Shiv, your
Ashoka?
connection is really bad. I can't hear you.
Yeah, okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
So, what are your plans post an undergraduate degree at Ashoka?
So I plan to do a 4-year undergraduate degree at Ashoka, and it'll probably be a BA in economics or a BA in political science. And after that, I probably will take a gap year or two and work with a think tank or an NGO somewhere, because I want to get into public policy. And then I will probably do my master's abroad in public administration or public policy, or maybe an MA in economics. I'm not decided on that yet. But for now, I want to do something in public policy.
Okay, so the next question is regarding why you put Christ in a list of two liberal arts schools.
Okay. What? I didn't
So
catch that.
why would you apply to Christ when you're looking at a liberal arts degree and a liberal arts college in Kriya and Ashoka?
Okay. So I'm from Bangalore, and I wanted to have a backup, and I wanted to have a backup which um so I wanted to have a stable backup, and I know that getting into Christ is very hard, but I knew that so Christ was basically a backup for me. And also, one of the major reasons I considered Christ was because of the um interviews in the companies that go there for recruitments, and also because of the triple major that they gave, which is economics, pol science, and sociology, which is not so different from a liberal education at Ashoka when you think about it. Because apart from the first year of experimentation, it may end up being pretty much the same, because I may end up doing a double major in economics and pol science at Ashoka, which I anyway could have done at Christ. So the main reason I chose Christ was because they offered these three subjects together, and also because these three subjects tie together well in the domain of public policy.
Okay, our next question is regarding getting rejected. So if you get rejected in round one or round two, can you apply again in the next round after that?
So if you get rejected in one of the rounds, you can't apply again that year. You'll have to wait another year, and then you'll have to apply next year. You can't apply again in round two or three. I'm sorry, you just have to wait for the next year if you really want to.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's very faint.
Okay, so the next question is about the aptitude test. Can you tell us a little more about the aptitude test? Is it time bound? How should one prepare for it? What types of questions come? Stuff like that.
Okay. So, as I said before, you will be given two prompts for the essay. You can choose to write about any one of those. If I remember right, one of the prompts for my essay was increasing dependence of humans on technology. So, it's completely up to you to decide what prompt you want to write on. And if I remember right, you're given half an hour to write about the essay. So, to write the essay. So, my aptitude test was online. So I had to switch on my camera, and I had to keep my audio on, and I had to type out the essay on my laptop, and I had to submit it after half an hour. And then you move on to the second part of the aptitude test, which is the MCQ questions. I'm so sorry, I don't remember whether it was half an hour long or an hour long. I think it was an hour long. And so the grammar part of it basically consists of comprehensions, and then you're supposed to answer questions based on that comprehension. It's very similar to the kind of questions that are there in the SATs. So if you really want to practice, you can just take up a couple of SAT practice papers and do them, because the math and the grammar questions are very similar to those.
Okay, so that seems to be our last question. Let's just wait for a couple of minutes in case something else comes in. Okay, we have another question. How are the professors across the majors? Any comments?
So all I can say is that the professors are very well versed with their subject, and sometimes they may be a professor of, let's say, sociology, but they may end up taking a course of economics. So they are very knowledgeable, and a lot of them have published research papers and have written books. So it's actually very intimidating to be taught by them.
Okay, so we just wait for a couple of minutes in case something else comes in. Otherwise, we can conclude today's session.
Sure.
Okay, we have another question. Um, how is the science program at Ashoka?
How are the? Sorry, I couldn't catch you.
How is the science program at Ashoka?
So the science department is actually very strong at Ashoka because, sorry, one second. I don't know what I did. Yeah. So the science department at Ashoka is actually very strong. They have a lot of professors and teaching fellows, and uh, biology, CS, and physics are common majors. And also, as I said before, you're supposed to take a couple of foundation courses in the first year. So Principles of Science is one of those foundation courses. And from what I've heard, the campus has a huge laboratory, and you get to do a lot of experiments and stuff, and there's a separate science block on campus. So science majors are very popular at Ashoka. Even though it's a liberal arts university, the science programs are very strong.
Okay, the next question is there any specific subjects you have to take in high school while applying for a specific degree at Ashoka?
So the only specification which they have is that to do an economics major at Ashoka, you need to have math in your 11th and 12th. Without math in 11th and 12th, they will not let you do an economics major. Apart from that, as far as I know, there are no other specifications. If you've never studied history before, you can definitely do a history major at Ashoka. And I think the same goes for science too. If you haven't had chemistry and physics in your 11th and 12th grade, you cannot pursue a chemistry or physics major. But yeah, this, I think I remember that right. But yeah, apart from that, I don't think there are any specifications, and you're completely free to choose whatever subjects you want, because the department knows that subjects like sociology or philosophy or even political science are not offered to a lot of students in high school. So they're very they don't have any strict rules about that.
Okay, so that seems to be our last question. Let's just wait for a minute or two again in case something comes in.
Okay, yeah. I'm surprised no one's asked about financial aid yet.
Okay, maybe you can start talking about it.
So financial aid at Ashoka is completely need based, and it's not merit based. So even if you apply for it, you will get rejected if they don't see a need for it. And they make sure that the funds go only to people who really need it. So there are people in my batch who've received 100% financial aid and who didn't have to pay anything to the university. And then there are various degrees of financial aid. There are people who've gotten 30% financial aid. So it really depends on your need. And yeah, it's a very extensive process on, and they choose people who really need it, who come from backgrounds who need it.
No questions have come in. I think we'll conclude today's session. On behalf of all our viewers, we'd like to thank you, Maitri, for taking out the time. we hope you enjoyed it. It was quite insightful for us. We'd like to thank you all viewers on behalf of Inflow Communications for taking out the time to come attend these talks. Thank you guys. Thank you, Maitri.
Thank you so much for having me.